200 years, the Devonport Guildhall has stood, solid and proud, at the top of Kerr Street, a herald of democracy and a symbol of the city. It proclaims a welcome to Devonport and represents order, justice and community strength. Designed by John Falston and built in the early part of the 1820s, the Guildhall was a town hall, a magistrates' court, a morgue and a prison. It is now a meeting place, a touchstone, and a real, substantial symbol of the tenacity and pride of the people of Devonport. After Devonport and Plymouth were incorporated in 1837, community needs required the Guildhall to change with the times, and in 1848 the building underwent its first renovation. Costing just over £1,000, the lower floors were significantly restructured, making space for council chambers and a large committee room, while an attic was added to the upper stories. The architect, Alfred Norman, later became Mayor of Devonport. The final meeting of the Devonport Town Council was held in October 1914, although the building was still used as a town court in the decades leading up to World War II. The hall was converted to a ballroom in the evenings, where local people could dance the nights away, and in the 1920s the former council chambers were tiled to make way for a mortuary. An important civic building during World War II, the Guildhall was the headquarters of the 164th Battery of the Devon Heavy Brigade, and was also in continual use as a police station. After the war, it was a struggle to find an ongoing use for the main hall, and it slowly sank into disrepair and decay. In 1959, the building was briefly leased as a factory for making foundation garments, and in the early 1960s it was used as a base for glove manufacturing. But these operations were short-lived. By 1962, the Guildhall stood empty. Finding a sustainable use for the building seemed impossible. Following several rejected proposals, including a roller rink and a nightclub, and a handful of short-lived tenancies, including the Plymouth Folk Song Club and the Plymouth Table Tennis League, it was suggested that the Guildhall be demolished. With this prospect a very real threat, the Save the Devonport Guildhall Committee was formed. In 1975, the City Council called for a restoration of the building to provide a community activity centre at an estimated cost of £100,000. This took over a decade to come to fruition and cost over 3 times as much by the end of the scheme. The Guildhall was officially reopened for the second time on the 12th of December 1986, containing a cafe, sports hall, library and Citizens Advice Bureau. But within a year the project was struggling, and despite substantial effort on the part of the Devonport Guildhall Trust, it closed again in 1998 and was taken over by Plymouth City Council. Which is where our part of the story begins. Following an options survey commissioned by the Devonport Regeneration Community Partnership in 2007, the Real Ideas organisation, known as RIO, first visited the Guildhall and quickly realised its potential as a heritage building at the heart of a changing community. The moment was right, and there was popular support and political will. RIO had the capacity and investment to make it happen, and there was a real opportunity to raise the capital funding needed to restore and redevelop the building. RIO worked closely with Plymouth City Council, and in just over a year managed to acquire the funding to take the project forward. £1 million was secured through Her Majesty's Government Community Assets Grant Programme, delivered by the Big Fund. Substantial additional funding, in excess of £650,000, was assured by the Devonport Regeneration Community Partnership. The partners realised that the way to make this work was to make it more than just a building, to draw and develop on its original role and purpose as the heart of a community, a place where every resident feels they can go to do something, from having lunch with a friend, learning a new skill, or looking at inspiring exhibitions, to using desk space for a business venture, or holding a party, wedding or celebration. This vision of a diverse and inclusive offer, as well as a need for financial sustainability, has driven a number of innovations in what we do and how we do it. The Guildhall does not receive any ongoing public funding. To enable it to invest in and meet the needs of the local community, it must generate income. This is achieved through the rental of office space, private and corporate hire of the halls, use of the cafe, and our programme of activities and events. And is a word we use a lot at the Guildhall. Employment and heritage, healthcare and culture, the environment and food, volunteering and enterprise, arts and education, thinking about the local community and wider society. It is when we draw together ideas from a multitude of different perspectives, when we look at the world through both ends of the telescope, from the top down and the bottom up, we find new ways forward, new ways of working together, and we begin to build cohesive, healthy and diverse communities that are responsible and sustainable. This ethos of inclusion, diversity, sustainability and responsibility has shaped the development process from day one. Local residents, our wider partners and 5 key tenants have worked together with us to realise aspirations and face challenges head-on. Recently, a bid was submitted to the Heritage Lottery Fund to restore the Devonport column, a process driven by local residents and further developed by Rio that will see the creation of an innovative partnership with Plymouth University to reopen one of the city's finest monuments to the public. So, after more than a year of extensive planning and renovation, involving consultation with hundreds of local residents, the Devonport Guildhall reopened to great fanfare in April 2010. The building is cared for by Rio, who are holding open the doors for the community to build a new history, a new relationship, and a new future for a space that is set to define the Devonport for decades to come. While much of what we see and hear around us is characterised by an absence of certainty and insecurity about tomorrow, here in Devonport, with its foundations of history and community, there is a sense of confidence and optimism, and a firm belief in a prosperous future.